This one's particular to the Oklahoma Conference of the United Methodist Church. We're having a special called annual conference in October to approve disaffiliating churches and to approve the conference budget. I'm a part of a group that's been trying to track how many churches are disaffiliating right now, whether they're trying to exit under 2548.2 or 2553, who the different leaders are in charge. And by my count, I sat up last night and tried to do this. There are 12 churches that have already held votes, are going to be holding votes before the October annual conference. And if I've heard right, if I've calculated this right, we're not going to just be losing 24 annual conference votes for conservatives in Oklahoma, but we're going to be losing up to a third of our annual conference budget. And of course, they're paying a lot of money to get out, but after a couple of years, that money is gone, and that affects the rest of us who are left behind. There are another 53 churches, to my understanding, that have formally conveyed an interest to our annual conference in disaffiliating, and that's out of 450 congregations. Oklahoma skews right theologically, at least when you look at the grassroots people on the ground. Our clergy, I think, probably skew left a little bit, but our people on the ground skew conservative. And I'm of the mind that a lot would be interested in disaffiliating if the cost wasn't prohibitive, if it wasn't so intimidating to. So one of the things, as I went through what's going on in our annual conference, all these ones disaffiliating already at the start of this, there's probably going to be a lot more next year. What I would like, as all these churches are leaving, when you look at like Northwest Texas or Central Texas, when you see what's happening there, which is, if you don't know, pretty much the entire annual conference is leaving. When you have all this happening, it seems to me clearly indicative that something is off, something is wrong. If my wife all of a sudden wants to leave me, I'm not going, oh, you're crazy. Tell me what's going on. I want to know what's going on. But what I see, generally speaking, from the other side is what I think is called gaslighting, just saying, they're leaving all over these things that are not real. They're not as big as they say they are. There's disinformation and misinformation. They're being manipulated by Mark Tooley and the IRD and all these other people. This is completely unnecessary. What's to be said about that? Do you think there's a point at which things fall apart so much that finally our denominational leaders go, oh, we really screwed up along the way? Or do you think that this is one of those things where everybody's just so dug in that there's really no hope for that?
Yeah, I think we are dug in. I think both sides are dug in. I believe, and I feel the atmosphere, even from the Council of Bishops, Bickerton put out a response the other day about misinformation from the WCA and whatnot. I think
Bickerton's a bishop, yeah.
Yeah, he's the chair of the Council of Bishops. It's not called chair.
President?
Yeah. So he put out a deal talking about, we're moving forward, that the language on homosexuality will be changed, that we're going to focus on colonialism and racism, and that the presentations or the information from the WCA is inaccurate, not accurate, not good information. So the challenge rolls into the idea that you can ignore the disease, but at some point the disease is going to take you. And I think the reality is that more and more churches that are coming forward. I sat in meetings prior to this all coming to light at the annual conference level, where there was this air that, it'd be a few churches. We don't, it's not that big a deal. Well, I sat in a meeting yesterday where, when names of churches started being listed, people's faces were like, all of a sudden it's a reality.
Yeah.
It is a reality. We're going to lose a considerable amount of United Methodist churches that don't feel that the denomination represents them. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, well, they're leaving. Well, the denomination has left.
Yeah, there's that classic Ronald Reagan quote, I didn't leave the Democrat Party left me. Yeah. But the chair of one of my churches, as we're talking about this, said, we're not leaving the United Methodist Church. The United Methodist Church left us long ago. The people who built this church would not be okay with the direction things are headed. And then, for even in this statement from the bishop to be using signaling language for culture war stuff, colonialism and racism and stuff. And it's not that conservatives don't care about colonialism and racism, but we understand the primary purpose of the church to be salvation of souls, not advancing a political agenda defined by the two-party American system.